Hi everyone, I'm Stuart Kavanagh and welcome to the After Extra Time podcast where we talk about the big news, the big games and the big players in the English Premier League. Once again, I'm joined by journalist, Manchester United fan, editor-in-chief of thesportsbank.net and author of Transatlantic Passage, How the Premier League Redefines Soccer in America, Mr. Paul Banks. How are you doing, Paul?
Doing great, man. Where I'm sitting, there's a nice Mother Nature's giving us a nice light show. There's some lightning going on as the storm just passed through.
Ah, fantastic. Well, as long as you can stay dry, mate. It is grey and miserable, typical Melbourne weather here. So, I'm even though it's rain and it's thunder and lightning, I'm a little bit jealous. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather. Let's talk about the Premier League. Harry Kane has decided to stick around at Tottenham after toing and froing most of the summer. What do you make of that news?
I think that's a matter of Tottenham valuing him around 150 million pounds. City willing to go, I think, 100. Maybe they would have gone 120, but even that seems like too much for a 28-year-old. I think this is, hey, you know what? At least it's over. At least, the tedium, the banality of a transfer saga where nothing happens. It's over. It's done. And we'll see what happens next year. Maybe next year with only 2 years left on his deal, Tottenham will kind of come to their senses and realize that they're going to have to sell him to get some money or risk losing him for free. And that's what I think is going to happen next summer.
I think that is exactly what's going to happen. As long as Harry Kane's foot doesn't fall off, I think he's got maximum one season left at Tottenham. And then it's whether, and this is the other big news, they were kind of winging it, people, because this only developed just as we were preparing for the podcast. And this is only if Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't arrive in Manchester this time on the blue side.
That is so weird. I mean, Ronaldo is definitely picking the absolute worst time to want to get out there and make a move because PSG have already made their investment in Messi. United, they already got a wing player. The Glazers, I don't really think have the ambition right now to go get them. Who else? Maybe Real Madrid return possibly, but
they're clearing their bank out to try and sign Mbappe, despite pleading, poor for most of the transfer window.
Yeah, that's really funny how it's like I see we got Mbappe money. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. It must be nice to be $1 billion in debt, but still be able to shell out $150 million reportedly on Kylian Mbappe. I'm not quite sure how the financials of that works. I think by the time we record next week, the transfer window will be shut, so maybe we'll be in more of a position to discuss how the transfer window went. But it's certainly hotted up in the last couple of weeks. In the meantime, people, head over to thesportsbank.net for all your latest transfer news. This is the winners and losers segment. This is where we pick a winner and a loser as a way to kind of recap last weekend's Premier League action. Paul, who have you got on the winners list?
I'm going with who we profiled in depth last week, and that's West Ham. I mean, they're top of the table. They had an eye-popping score in what I thought was the game of the week in my eyes. It was a statement win. Sure, they didn't pull away until the end. And they kind of, that 4-1 isn't so indicative because obviously Leicester was down to 10 men and that thing's going to kind of happen. But props to David Moyes. He got it done.
Absolutely. Excellent choice. Making a mockery of our analysis last week, West Ham. But let's not get carried away. It's only game week 2. So hopefully our analysis will shine through in the end.
Maybe they heard us and got motivated.
Absolutely.
They're like, we'll show those guys.
Absolutely. Well, we know that, the training sessions do have the After Extra Time podcast as their audio background. So that's probably exactly what happened, Paul. As far as my winner goes, I go with Romelu Lukaku. Big money, big game to debut in. The history of playing in the Chelsea shirt, I think he made 15 appearances first time around for Chelsea and didn't manage to trouble the scorers. 15 minutes into his second debut, he scored a goal. He looks ominous. He looks like he's going to just really take Chelsea to the next level. And it was a really impressive debut, I thought, from the big man. Who's your big loser?
Oh, well, first of all, I love your choice of Lukaku. I think that's spot on. My big loser is Anthony Martial, and I hate saying that because he's a guy I really, really liked. I felt summer transfer window deadline day 2015, we were kind of like, who is this guy? Where did this come from? He set the record back then as the most expensive teenager in history. The one time that I've been to Old Trafford, I remember seeing all kinds of T-shirts outside, and some of them said, martial law with his image. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, when he shows his skill set, and when he's dribbling and he's working, I mean, you can see all the talent and everything, but man, did he flop. He was hooked after 58 minutes. He blew a great scoring opportunity. There was a second, maybe scoring opportunity that somebody of his pay grade and someone of his hype should have been able to take care of. I know he got ripped to shreds by pundits all over the world. Everyone kind of lit into him, but you know what? I felt it was deserved because I look right now and I say, who's going to be left out when Rashford comes back and Sancho's at full strength? I think it's going to be this guy.
Absolutely. I think the criticism is justified. It is a real shame because he does have bags of talent with the development of Mason Greenwood and the star power they've got on the wings with Rashford and Sancho. You just don't see there being a place for him, and I feel like he's going to go out with a bit of a whimper at United, which is a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, it really is because for so many people that like to heap blame upon Jose Mourinho, and you look at what Luke Shaw has developed into now, and you say, oh well, Shaw was right and maybe Mourinho was wrong, but you look at this and you're like, well, maybe Mourinho wasn't so bad when he had his issues with Martial.
Great pick for the loser, Paul. My pick for the loser from last weekend is actually the opposite of your winner. I've gone for Leicester City. I feel like the battle for the European spots is gonna be heated this year. There's gonna be a lot of teams going for that 5th, 6th spot, and if one of those big four that we've touched on previous podcasts have a bit of an off season, even 4th spot's up for grabs, and you're gonna have to win the games against the teams around you. And I think this loss is going to be telling going forwards throughout the season, considering West Ham and Leicester. I'm predicting them to be there or thereabouts, right next to each other in the challenging for those European spots.
Yeah, I don't get it. I felt Leicester had a good transfer window. I felt they've really kind of, well, it's early to say all this, but I really felt like they've built a base level, some stability there of where they're going to be. But that was ugly. And they've started fast in recent years, and then they fade in the stretch. Maybe this year it'll be the reverse.
It was interesting, that howler of a mistake from the centre-back, the Turkish fella.
Yeah, he's one of their best guys, too.
Yeah, when you look at that spine and you think, wow, they're going to have a really good team this year, you're thinking Schmeichel, Sionku, Tielemans, Madison, Vardy, right? That's a solid spine. And when you got one of those big names out of your spine making just horrible mistakes like that, it just doesn't bode well. So hopefully Brendan Rodgers and the team at the Foxes there can pull it together. But as far as game week 2 goes, they're the big loser for me, Paul.
No arguments there.
Okay, Paul, it's football focus time. We are going to talk about Mikel Arteta and the situation at Arsenal Football Club. What has gone wrong?
Can't believe it. Here we are recording this, and Arsenal had to play a second-round League Cup game.
They've splurged the most money in the Premier League. Arteta come with all this pedigree, serving this apprenticeship under Pep Guardiola. Let's say, though, in the first 2 games, Arteta and Arsenal have been hit by injury and COVID more than anyone else. So just having a look at the list of outs, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Willian, whether that's a big out or not, that's up for debate, I suppose. Thomas Partey, Eddie Nketiah, Ben White, and Gabriel all out. So I think he does deserve a little bit of slack as far as the first 2 games go. But like I said in my preseason review, Arsenal lack a real identity on the pitch. Their leadership is weak. And this isn't the first blip in Arteta's career. Personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I think the bottom line is the Arsenal job is just too big for a rookie manager, even one who's served the apprenticeship under Pep.
Well, I mean, number one, you don't have to look far to find people who think Pep Guardiola is overrated. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm not saying that's right. Maybe Arteta has, he's the young guy coming in. This is his first gig and it's Arsenal. Maybe he's read too many of his press clippings. Maybe he believes his own hype and there's some hubris going on. But at the end of the day, to be This is the first time in a quarter century that they've been without European football, and that is all on him. I crunched the numbers enough to see that his record is worse than Unai Emery when he was sacked. And you look at Arsenal, and I had this discussion with the leader of the Manchester United fan club of Chicago. We both said, like, yeah, it'd be kind of funny if Arsenal was relegated. And we had this discussion around Christmas time. They were like 15th, 16th, whatever they were up until Boxing Day. Wouldn't you agree that, okay, it's kind of funny to talk about them being relegated, but wouldn't that be really, really sad and terrible?
It would be terrible. Like, don't get me wrong. Just my personal experience is Arsenal have some of the most arrogant fans that I've ever met before in my life. And it would be good to just, call a couple of old mates up and just have a bit of a laugh at them and say, sucked in. Arsenal got relegated. It would be sad because it's one of those big traditional big four teams. You're talking about United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. You miss out on all those big matchups. United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Arsenal. I guess even probably the pick of all the Arsenal fixtures is the Tottenham Arsenal fixture because it's such a heated rivalry. So this is just a long way of saying yes. I do think it would be really sad if they did get relegated. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Well, I know VAR will do all they can. If they ever got in danger, I can imagine they'll get every break they can possible.
To your point, on Unai Emery, it's interesting. I think you might have touched on this last week about a homegrown stature of Mikel Arteta, and you compared it to Frank Lampard.
Absolutely.
It is interesting because Unai Emery has runs on the board. He's won many things. He's won European trophies. I think he's actually won more European trophies than Arsenal has as a club. So it's interesting that they were quick to give him the chop, and they seem to be happy to let the rot set in under Mikel Arteta. The big question is, can he keep his job?
I guess it comes down to, do you look at this team as, I see a club that couldn't get the people they wanted to take their money, so they had to settle for lesser options in the transfer market. They've cobbled a team together, as you said in your season preview. As you said before, they don't have an identity. There isn't really a system. So you look at that, and does the club realize that that's reality? Because that's what it is. And then who do they blame for it?
I mean, obviously Arteta holds some of the blame, but is it technical director or director of football, Adu, that they have over there as well? I'm sure he's got to take a little bit of the blame. I don't know if I've just been watching too much Gooner TV, but maybe the Cronkies need to take a little bit of the blame also. Generally, these things fall on the manager's head. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, we know like how crazy this is, how high pressure, how quick the trigger fingers are to get sacked. I'd say we have to really try to break this down. And do you give them to, I don't know, Halloween, Thanksgiving to turn it around? And then you have to look at what's a bridge too far if they're hovering above the relegation zone again and we're almost in mid-season. Is that it?
Doing a bit of research for the pod, I did read several articles from the UK that was saying that the board has given him the next 5 games to turn things around, due to the fact that this is actually Arsenal's worst start to a top flight season in 118 years.
They haven't even scored. There's only 5 clubs in the Premier League that went scoreless the first 2 games, and that's one of them. And you go back to, like, that was the Arsene Wenger way. It wasn't just that they won. It was beautiful, fun, entertaining, attacking football. And if they can't even score.
Not to jump on a future segment here, but they do have a big game this weekend coming, and I honestly don't see him scoring in that one either. As I mentioned, apparently he has 5 matches to save his job. He is part of the technical team that's identifying signings, and by all accounts, he's being trusted to oversee the rebuild by the Arsenal board. And he does have a little bit of history in this regard. You've touched on Christmas time last year when they were having a shocking run. They were deep on the second page of the standings, and he was back to the hilt by the board publicly and privately. However, if results don't have a significant uptick over the next 6 weeks or so, I think you're spot on with Halloween. would probably be the absolute latest. I personally think his days are numbered.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not his fault the schedule makers gave him these tough matches early, and it's not his fault all these guys had COVID and got hurt. But it is his fault that they're starting the year in the second round of the EFL Cup, and even in a expanded European format, they can't even get into that. He's had his chances already.
Remember, Arsenal fans wanted to get rid of Arsene Wenger because he would only get him to the Champions League.
Careful what you wish for.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, mate. Let's just say he does get the sack. He's gone at Halloween. I've got a few options here of who could replace him. I've narrowed it down to the big name option, the British option, and a bit of a left field option.
Well, I'm with you on the big name option because that is the first name that I always see pop up with us. Yeah, Antonio Conte is the dream hire. He's taken a year off, but apparently Otis agrees on Antonio.
You can take it to the bank then. Otis knows what he's talking about. He knows his football, people.
Yes, absolutely. Otis Ginger Tabby. If you're on Instagram, give him a follow at Otis Ginger Tabby. He's a very talkative, opinionated football pundit. But
I'll drop that in the episode details.
But no, like Conte, what do you think he's holding out for?
Isn't he waiting to come back to the Premier League? Doesn't he feel like he has unfinished business after the way things ended at Chelsea? Yeah, that's what Craig Burley said on ESPN FC. So I think that's what he's waiting for. I mean, he didn't get his way at Inter as far as transfers and stuff goes. I think if you're looking at it cynically, you could say Arsenal's kind of showing him by saying, look, we're backing this guy with hundreds of millions of pounds. Maybe we'll back you too if you come and save the day for us.
That's a good point. That's a great point. I never even thought of it that way. Isn't that why their own closest rivals struggled to finally get a guy in Tottenham? Because no one wanted to go to a place where they weren't going to get back by the board and get money.
Yeah,
so they're showing, hey, we're the opposite.
Do you think Conte would be a good fit? Would he oversee a significant uptick in results immediately?
I think the timing is right. I think it's the perfect scenario given the way he left Inter and what's going on with them. I think he would get. There's talent on this team. Like I said, I don't think it's coherent. I think it's kind of a mishmash, but the right guy can make it happen, and he would be the right guy.
Okay, well, let's move on to the British option, and this is one I really like, which you might be surprised to hear, but I think Brendan Rodgers would be a good fit for Arsenal. I like the way he plays football. I liked him when he was in charge of Liverpool. We don't get a lot of SPFL in Australia, but what I saw of his Celtic team, I enjoyed watching play. I love watching Leicester play usually. So I think he could definitely make an impact at Arsenal. He's known for promoting from within. Maybe the opposite of the point I made for Conte. Maybe Arteta's sponged up the bank, and there's no money left. That wouldn't be a problem for Brendan Rodgers, I don't think.
I think that's the next step for Brendan Rodgers is a Big Six job, and you wonder where that's going to be. I think he's a great story. I mean, I know he didn't win any trophies at Liverpool, but he had a great recovery with Celtic. What he's done at Leicester is hard to argue against. So I think that's the next step. And, I can't imagine the Gunners fans being too upset about that.
Yeah, I will admit, I don't know if this is commonly held thinking about Brendan Rodgers amongst Liverpool fans, but gee whiz, that 13-14 season, the Luis Suarez season, where we were at Jordan Henderson, red card, or Steven Gerrard slip away from winning the title. It was one of the most exhilarating seasons of football I've ever watched before as a Liverpool fan. I do think the natural progression for him is one of the top six sides. I think you could probably count out City and United due to his Liverpool ties. He's got history at Chelsea, so it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up there eventually. I think Tottenham... Nuno will probably they'll give him a couple of years. So I think Arsenal's the only one left. If the job becomes available, I guess the only thing that he'd be questioning is Arsenal a step up from Leicester.
What they've been, we know how far they've down, but that passion and that following, and it's still as strong as ever. So Um, just that sentence, man.
Yeah.
When you think of just that sentence about Arsenal being a step down from Leicester, I don't know. I can't agree. I cannot agree with you on that.
It's a controversial take, I'll admit that one. All right, mate. So I've got a left field option here. I don't know if you agree with this. I was just thinking who's probably the last name that probably deserves a crack, maybe. And I was left with two options, and I've gone with the one that's still in the Premier League in Sean Dyche.
That's a great one. That is an absolute great one. And I saw a tweet today from some pundit, some TV person that had it right. Like their club record signing is 15 million pounds, and that's today. And it's 2021. Like, think about what Sean Dyche has done.
Absolutely. Didn't they? They had a season where they qualified or came close to qualifying for Europa League, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah, I think they were in the mix, which actually relates to my British option pick, who is also kind of a left field option, but I picked someone else for my left field option.
Okay, well, let us have it, mate.
Chris Wilder.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I mean, he got him to 9th that year, and that 9th is misleading because they were 6th on, heading into Championship Sunday or thereabouts. They were in European contention. It did not end well. I know that. It did not end well at all, but he's a builder. If you want to hire a program builder. And then my left field option, I'm going to go with Baby Klopp. This is also a hot take. I know that because crashed out eventually at Huddersfield. But let's not forget, he got the Terriers promoted. He got them to survive. Totally flamed out at Schalke. So I can see the hesitancy. And I say David Wagner, and I say this only because he inherited the Swiss champions. They are in Champions League. Let's see if he gets them. If he gets into the round of 16 or something, you gotta give him a look.
Listen, I love that pick. Actually, I absolutely love that pick. I think he is great. Like you said, he got him. He got the Terriers promoted. They weren't horrible. I think they had 2 seasons in the Premier League, which is probably one more season than people expected them to have. The Schalke thing, I mean, that was just a bit of a disaster. But I think that's actually brilliant. I love that left field option, David Wagner. I would love to see him in the dugout at Arsenal.
Well, Wagner and Wilder, they both. The official record is that it was mutual consent. They parted ways with the club, which is just a nice way of saying getting fired. But when you look back at it, they both left early in the year, and you wonder if they both had the kind of like attitude of, all right, I take a lot of pride in what I do. I try to be the best. I'm not gonna just steal your money, and we're gonna move on. And you gotta like that in a manager for sure.
Absolutely. And if they could sign David Wagner to a long-term deal, it might encourage Jurgen Klopp to stay in England for another few years if his best mate's over here too. So there's just a selfish take there from a Liverpool fan.
Well, I kind of knew you were going to like this pick. I kind of sensed.
All right, Paul, let's move on to the After Extra Time weekly awards section. And after the crazy weekend of action we've had, there is a huge amount of potential nominees once again here. I can't remember the way we did this last time, if I went first or if you went first, but I am going to give you the honor of nominating the first goal of the weekend.
I'm going to go with Michael Antonio, and I'm doing that just because I liked his celebration. And celebration is part of the goal. And when you party with a cardboard cutout of yourself, it's pretty original. So that's my pick.
Like I said last week, he's a likable story. He seems like a likable guy, and it's great. I think he's West Ham's all-time leading scorer after that strike too.
Yeah, I mean, so again, some people, they make their picks based on the aesthetics, the presentation, how hard it was to execute athletically, but I think you can always go with the meaning behind it and everything that surrounded it. And, if you're the all-time leading scorer, then I think I have a good pick there.
Absolutely. Well, I've gone for the technique slash athletic metric for my pick. I've gone for Danny Ings. Bicycle kick goal against Newcastle on the weekend. Honestly, when I'm watching a game of football and I see a perfectly executed bicycle kick like that one, there's simply nothing better. I think you can count on one hand the amount of perfect bicycle kicks you've seen in your lifetime. And this was definitely one of them. And he definitely gets my vote, Paul, for goal of the weekend. So what we need to decide is are we going for the storyline or are we going for the athletic feat?
I defer to you. I think you win this one. You can't ever go against a bicycle kick.
Absolutely. And I think I don't know if you're deliberately leaving this one out, and I hate saying this, but the best bicycle kick I've ever seen, Wayne Rooney for Manchester United, that one was just incredible. But anyway.
It feels like it was so long ago.
It was a beautifully executed bicycle kick. And it was a huge game too. It was against Manchester City, I think. So, but anyway, let's not take any of the glory away from Danny Ings. Danny, congratulations! After extra time, goal of the weekend. Be proud, buddy. Time for player of the weekend. So I've gone for Reece James against Arsenal for Chelsea. I think he set up Lukaku's goal. He scored one himself. Was just rampaging from that right back position, and I mean, I don't know if this is biased from me when I say I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is the best right back in the world. And I think the biggest compliment I can give to Reece James is there's not much between him and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
That's a good pick. That's really solid. I mean, I think competition for places at Chelsea is very, very high, very competitive. And I think he's locked it down. And as a United fan, I begrudgingly take no issue with your Trent Alexander-Arnold pick. I'm sticking with Chelsea, and my player of the week is the same as your big winner of the week for all the same reasons, and Romelu Lukaku. I mean, there's a reason they went out and got him. There's a reason he's the most expensive sale in Serie A history, the most expensive player in Chelsea history, and he's just that missing piece, and we're seeing why he could be the guy that really puts it all together for him.
Absolutely, they instantly bore the fruit of his signing. Got in the regards of goals, and I think they're going to continue to. I think it's telling we've both picked players from Chelsea. I think they're going to be monsters this year. I don't think there's much to split these two picks. So, seeing as you were a gentleman and bowed to my pick for goal of the weekend, I will return the gentlemanly favour. And I am happy to award player of the weekend to Romelu Lukaku against Arsenal. Congratulations, Big Rom, and I hope the goals keep flying in for you. Now, match of the weekend, Paul. Who have you got for me?
Yeah, this was a tough one. Just, in terms of availability of what games I could see and couldn't see and how it matched up with the time zone. And again, I'm going to make a very outside the box kind of pick here because this wasn't like a very thrilling or even match, but I still was very entertained watching West Ham rout Leicester. And like I said in the open, they didn't really pull away and, inflate the score to the very end. And obviously Leicester was held back by having 10 men, but I just go back to everything we said on the show last week about here's a really important match. It's who's gonna maybe get fourth if it is there for the taking. So
it was a massive 6-pointer and a huge win for the Hammers. I have gone for the Leeds Everton game. Listen, I had the same issues as you. I think we touched on the podcast last week that Saturday night was not the night, or Saturday, depending on where you're listening from, was not the day for the games, and all the games were about the Sunday. So I have to admit, I've only seen a 45-minute highlight package from this game. But what I saw, I liked, and it was Leeds and Everton, 2-2. I did take down some of the stats. They had the same amount of shots. They had a similar amount on target. It did seem like an even game. Leeds did seem a little bit more comfortable on the ball. And it's a little bit of the softy in me. I hate Everton, but I love the Leeds story. I love that they're back in the Premier League. I love these big traditional sides being back in the Premier League. So I'd be lying if I said that didn't come into my thinking when I was picking game of the week. So that's my pick, Leeds versus Everton. I think as far as reasoning goes, Paul, I think your reasoning and the fact that I actually watched the West Ham Leicester game probably makes a little bit more sense than mine, considering I only watched a 45-minute highlight package of my actual pick. So we will go with your pick for that one too, mate. West Ham versus Leicester 4-1. Congratulations, Hammers and Hammers fans. And I hope you're blowing bubbles all weekend, all year. And that was a massive 6-pointer. It's definitely going to give you a leg up in the race for the European places.
Yes, congrats to all our Hammers supporters listening out there.
Okay, believe it or not, Paul, it's the third week of the Premier League fixtures already. And we have we thought we had big matches last Sunday. We've got massive matches this weekend. Things start with the rampaging Manchester City, fresh off putting 5 past Norwich, facing the hapless Gunners. Is this the beginning of the end for Arteta's spell in the dugout at Arsenal, or can Mikel overcome the teacher and probably give us the shock of the year so far?
Yeah, they did it once in a cup competition. So it has happened before. It's not unprecedented, but again, as we touched on earlier, they can't score. Yes, their forwards are injured and sick, but there's still no excuses. Your Arsenal. City won last year with a defense first mentality, or their defense was more dominant than their attack. So I don't see Arsenal scoring, and I don't see Arsenal winning.
I completely agree with you. I don't see Arsenal scoring a goal. I don't see any reality where Manchester City don't win. And this is one of the games I've cherry-picked to just come in with some interesting facts. And that goes as such. Manchester City are unbeaten in their last 11 games against Arsenal since a 2-1 defeat at the Emirates in December of 2015. That's league games. And interestingly, they've taken a total of 28 out of a possible 30 points against the Gunners under Pep Guardiola. So that doesn't bode well, and it kind of backs up both of our picks there that Arsenal are on a hiding to nowhere in that one, mate.
Yeah, I think that's a slam dunk pick. That's a pretty easy one to size out.
Absolutely. Okay, well then moving on to the traditional kickoff time on the Saturday. We've got Aston Villa and Brentford.
I see that one as a draw. I could see that one as splitting the spoils. I think it's a good matchup.
Yeah, I think Villa being at home will probably give them a bit of a nudge in the right direction. I love the Bees. I love Thomas Frank. Brentford's a great story, but I just see Aston Villa winning this one. Danny Ings, I think he could be amongst the most underrated strikers in the league.
Yeah, and he won goal of the week, so
absolutely, that momentum could just push him on to a 30-goal season. Just winning the after extra time goal of the week is it's. Forget about your golden boots and all the rest of it. That's what the players are shooting for. Absolutely.
It's known to be a springboard for careers everywhere.
Okay, next up, we've got the Amex hosting Everton. Brighton, Hove, Albion, and Everton. I've got to tell you, I'm not excited about this match at all. I think this one, I'm probably going to go with a draw.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about any Brighton match. I think we've kind of said that over and over again. And Everton has been better than we thought. So at least, we were not high on Everton at all entering this preseason, but they've looked better. So I'm gonna go with the Toffees in this one.
Hey, away victory for the Toffees. All right. Then we go to St. James's Park. I've said it once. I'll say it again. One of the best stadiums to watch football in. Newcastle and Southampton. I really hope the home fans get to taste a victory here. Do you think that they will, Paul?
Well, I was surprised at what Southampton did to my United last week, but I don't see them duplicating that effort again. I'm gonna go with the Geordies. Beautiful. Yeah, I've been on the exterior. I've been all around it, but I've never been inside, and someday I hope to, because it's just a great place with what I imagine is a great atmosphere.
Absolutely hopping atmosphere. I think the Geordies will win it too. And, it might soften the blow of the surprise result last week, but I do feel like that was Southampton's cup final in game week 2 against Manchester United. I just don't see him playing better than that for the rest of the season. So take from that what you will. Next up, Norwich and Leicester City at Carrow Road. Gee whiz, Norwich have had a terrible start to the season. Liverpool, Manchester City, and now Leicester, who finished 5th last year. You know what? This is going to be my upset of the week. I'm calling it. I think Norwich are going to win. I think they're going to win 1-0.
I like it. It's bold. I like it a lot. That's one thing we got right last week. We both said City was going to put up a cricket score on Norwich, and it was going to be one of those routes, and it was. Cheers to you. Kudos to you if you get this one right. But I am going with Leicester. I think Brendan Rodgers is too good of a manager to not get them fired up after what happened to them last week. And I think he's too good of a manager to let them drop points here.
Okay, I think, well, for what it's worth, I do think you're right, but I've just got a funny feeling that, Norwich are going to win a game eventually. I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but someone was saying that, in 5 or 6 weeks' time, Norwich is going to be the team where everyone's coming out and saying, oh, geez, don't let it be us that they beat, because they're going to beat someone. So let's just take that out of the equation completely and just have them knocking over Leicester here, I think. Next, we move on to the Olympic Stadium in London for a little bit of a London derby here, where West Ham United will face Crystal Palace. Can West Ham hold on to top spot with a victory here?
I think so, but I don't think it's going to be as impressive. I think maybe a little bit of a letdown is coming. Maybe they're just going to play down to their competition. As I've said, I consider Palace to be relegation fodder. So expect an ugly win for the Hammers.
I completely agree with you there. I think it will be an ugly win for the Hammers. I not only think Crystal Palace will be relegation fodder, I think that they will be the foundation of the table. They will do well to move off of 20th spot once they make it their own. They are on a hiding to nowhere this entire season. But yeah, I think you're right. I think West Ham will probably play down to the opposition, and I do see them winning maybe 1-0, something like that. Okay, next up. This is huge. This is the game I've been waiting for, Paul. I think we've got the same goal difference. We've both won 3-0, 2-0. If you haven't guessed yet who I'm talking about, it's Liverpool and Chelsea at Anfield. Give me your thoughts on this one, mate.
I'm picking Liverpool this one, and that is really something because I'm all about picking Chelsea to win it this year, and so far Chelsea has looked every bit the part of champions, but Anfield can be a fortress, and I think I just think the Reds got this one.
Gee whiz,
and I think it's going to be decisive too.
I hope you're right, mate. I really hope you're right. I think you're right, and Anfield will be a fortress with the fans back. Hopefully, we can make sure that the chants are appropriate and there's nothing untoward about them. Nothing too untoward, anyway. We don't mind a little bit of untowardness, but we don't want any of that line crossing that we had in the preseason games. I don't want to jinx them. I don't want to jinx Liverpool, so I'm going to pick Chelsea. I'm just off the back of I don't want to jinx them.
That's fair.
I'm too superstitious when it comes to Liverpool. Let's move on from that as quickly as we possibly can. I've fished out a couple of stats here that do shine a positive light on Liverpool. So Liverpool have lost just 2 of their last 13 Premier League meetings with Chelsea, with 6 wins and 5 draws. One of those defeats was just recently in March, though. So, Liverpool have fired the most Premier League shots this season with 46, and they have the joint second highest XG along with Manchester City. Meanwhile, Chelsea have faced the fewest shots in their 2 games and have the lowest XG against. I do think this is going to be an early season blockbuster. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait. A packed Anfield. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, Paul. It's going to be an incredible game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the headliner of the week.
For sure. Next, it's a bit of a damp squib after all that talk of Liverpool, Chelsea, and Anfield. We've got Burnley versus Leeds United at Turf Moor.
Yeah, that's kind of like the plucky underdog kind of not just survive but make it to mid-table cup here. That's the clash of those kind of guys. Like,
I could have put that better myself. That's fantastic.
yeah. The let's finish 12th place cup. 11th place is our ceiling cup here.
That's brilliant. I like it. Who you going
I'm
for?
I'm going with Leeds.
Okay. I think I might go with that too. It's interesting to note that Burnley have not scored a goal against Leeds in their last 2 matches, which is Leeds' return to the Premier League. So yeah, I think Leeds will probably win. We move on to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where they face Watford. Do you see the Tottenham train just chugging along with another 1-0 victory again, Paul?
Definitely. They're gonna come down to earth sometime, and it's probably gonna happen sooner rather than later, but it's not happening this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, their bubble will be burst, but it won't be this weekend, that's for damn sure. And then finally, we head over to the Molineux, Paul. It's your boys, Manchester United, who are being hosted by Wolverhampton Wanderers. How do you see this one going, my man?
I see a 3-1 United victory. This has been a team that has given United fits in recent years, but they seem to have worked out those problems. They're also a very different team under a new manager, so I like the idea of United coming home and rectifying what happened last week.
Yeah, I think United will probably come out breathing fire, and just simply with the talent that they've got in that squad, I just don't see Wolverhampton being able to get anything out of this game. That's a big win for Manchester United for me too, mate. All right, Paul, that's it for another episode of Extra Time. Thanks again for joining me. Have you got anything you'd like to tell all the folks listening?
Yes, perfect segue from the very last game that we previewed in our last segment. United hosting Wolves at Fido, Irish pub in Chicago. I will be doing my first ever book signing. I didn't even do one for my other book, and this will be the first one for either book. With the Manchester United Supporters Club of Chicago, and I've never told you this before, but when I was writing this, in the middle of lockdown, the middle of quarantine, and I'd kind of assembled everything, and I thought about wrapping it up, and I thought about how do I close this? What's the conclusion? Where do you go from here? And I mean, there was really only one way I could close it, and that's looking at America and looking at if America could be up next as the great football and great soccer nation. And the base was your series. You did your series on the golden generation, and I was like, he's got it. He's laid it all out for me. I can just follow the roadmap and then tie it all together. And it was a great basis. And then from there, I then did the research on the New York Cosmos in the late 70s, early 80s when they had Pele and Giorgio Canai and Beckenbauer. And I kind of tied it all together. U.S. at our peak in history, and then looking forward. So I have to give you props on that.
Oh wow, I'm shocked and I'm very proud. That's a very kind thing for you to say, Paul. Everybody get down to the Irish pub. What was it called again?
I think it's pronounced Fado or Fido. It's just Fado.
Okay, so head down to the Irish pub. Get the book. Get it signed by the man himself, Mr. Paul Banks. The title again, Transatlantic Passage, how the Premier League redefined soccer in America. get out there and get it. I'll drop the link in the episode description. Thanks again for joining me, Paul. It's fantastic. It's very kind words from you at the end there, and I appreciate it very much. And we'll be back next week with a big transfer window special. Thanks so much, Paul. Have a good one, mate.
Thanks, you too.